This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 252.
I program my own computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. Why, hello there, everybody. This is Adam Silver, the host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. First and foremost, the day of this episode is December 24th, so I want to wish you a Merry Christmas tomorrow and Happy Holidays. And no matter what holiday you celebrate or don't celebrate, hope you are doing well and spending some great quality time with your family. So I am recording actually a little early because I was traveling ahead of this weekend. So anyway, at the moment, I'm probably in Los Angeles. Very possible. Hopefully, it all worked out. Anyway, okay, moving on. Segment one. Well, not even segment one. Upcoming events. There are no WordCamps, obviously, next weekend. And I say obviously because it's the holiday season and no one's going to WordCamps. But now is a great time to go ahead and head over to WordPress.tv and watch some amazing and great talks that were given throughout the entire year at WordCamp. So just go ahead and type in a topic, type in a person, someone you're following, and watch a couple WordCamps talks from this past year. You won't be disappointed, I would imagine. All right, so that's my suggestion to you regarding no WordCamps next weekend. All right, moving on, segment one in the news. A few things to talk about here. WordPress 5.0.2 was released already. Yes, it's fast and furious. These 5.0 second dot releases are coming out. It's kind of weird to say that way. 45 total block editor improvements were made, 14 performance enhancements, 31 bug fixes, 17 block editor related bugs have been fixed across all the bundled themes. Some internationalization issues were also fixed as well. So there you have it. And the second dot, 5.0.2, that gets an auto update. From what I've seen on the ethers, not too many major issues for most people in 5.0. I did notice that a couple of my sites over on one of the hosting companies I use did auto upgrade to 5.0, which was a shocker, honestly. But that said, that server I use specifically and solely for development sites only, so nothing was compromised on my end. So far so good. I just made sure that everything is running Classic Editor still. I have not yet dove into the full release of 5.0 for, with what we used to call Gutenberg. Now it's just the editor, etc., the new block editor. But that's coming up in the next year. We'll talk more about that probably next week as well. So, all right, what else is in the news? Oh, yeah, speaker submissions are also still open for WordCamp Raleigh. I mentioned this because it's going to close in about 2 weeks, January 4th. We're going to close speaker submissions. We have a whole bunch already, looking really good. Solid WordCamp in April for WordCamp Raleigh. There'll be a link in the show notes. You should totally apply to speak. Remember, speaker gifts this year are puppies. I'm just kidding. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe we'll give out puppies. I don't know. And also in the news, I want to thank the feedback that I got from a handful of people from last week. Actually, from Julie, Stephen, Nathaniel, Pat, and Erica. Everyone was awesome. They gave me feedback regarding adding more in-depth content to the podcast. Of course, it's difficult to do that because it's technical, and how do I do that? So it's not going to be added to the podcast per se. Everyone suggested in their own way was video-based tutorials. They want to hear me or see me on screen and showing more things, plugin reviews, setups, etc. And FYI, full disclosure, from the get-go, from way back when, I actually had a page on Kitchen Sink's WP website that was tutorials and videos, and it said coming soon for the longest time. And it was one of the most popular pages per my Google Analytics, and nothing was there. And I'm like, So when I finally redid the site, I took that page down, and it looks like 2019 might be the year for that page to come back with content on it. So stay tuned for that. And again, plans for 2019 will be shared next week's episode in the year-end wrap-up kind of thing. So, all right, moving on to segment 2, the meat potatoes of this week's show. This week I'm calling it New Year, New Prices. So I want to talk about pricing again. I did speak about pricing models and ethics back on episode 82. It's been a while. So with the new year around the corner, you might be thinking about raising prices. It's a good time to do so. It's a fresh start, etc. A couple things to think about this. There are different ways to come up with your prices. There's also different ways to do the price raise and some do nots. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about coming up with prices. I came up, I think, half a dozen approximately, maybe. All right, so cost plus pricing. The standard method of pricing is in business seeks to first determine the cost to make the product, or in this case, provide a service, and then add an additional amount to represent a desired profit, right? So that's the first thing you kind of want to think about. What is it that you need to live? How do you want to live about your life? What are things you need to cover in your life in first costs? So we've all done this. We can do competitor pricing. We look at our competitors. We've done this, and we can match ours to theirs, or we can come in a little lower to kind of undercut them. Or perhaps we go the opposite way. We go higher. Well, why higher? Well, that goes into the next way to price something, would be the perceived value to the customer. Now, there's a lot of subjectivity that comes when setting a price for a service. So when you have a product, you can decide to use what's called keystone pricing, which generally takes the wholesale cost, doubles it to come up with a price to charge and account for your profit. But with a service, you can't necessarily do that, at least not easily per se. To your customer, the important factor in determining how much they're going to pay for the service is not really how much time you spent providing the service, but ultimately the perceived value of what the service is worth to them, your expertise to them, right? And this is where pricing becomes kind of an art form. It's true. I mean, an example here is in the world of WordPress agency work. Now, I don't have material costs like that of a home builder with lumber, plumbing, fixtures, tile, flooring. I don't have any of that. I do have labor. I have overhead. And some part of that overhead might be software, hardware, services I use to run my business. Also, I have a location. I have a home office, or I have an office, or I have a co-working space, etc. So those things have to be taken into consideration when setting my prices, in my opinion, and they should. Because just because you can do something fast doesn't make it valuable. Keep that in mind. Okay. Another way to come up with your price, of course, would be charging an hourly rate. Now, this is great. This is what most people do to start with, and I still do some hourly work, but it also ensures that you're achieving a rate of return on actual time in exchange for labor. So you're exchanging time for money, okay? The problem with that is, of course, you can't make more time, so you could cap out on what you could possibly make. So hourly rates are often used when you're pricing your own consulting services instead of services by other people. So it's difficult there, okay? And then another thing here to consider, another way to price is charging a flat fee, AKA what I call value-based. So this is tough. Many clients don't want to pay it hourly, but my subcontractors do want to be paid hourly. So who's bearing the risk when that comes into play? If I bid on a flat rate project for, let's say, $5,000, and it gets done under the time I've estimated per a detailed scope and discovery, then great, I'm doing fantastic. If it goes over that time frame, then that's on me. And then the issue of a markup comes into play. So the markup aspect being, if I have a contract bid me a flat rate for a project, how much do I mark that up to manage the client, manage the project, and to make profit? So, and of course, if the scope changes from the client and I pass that down to my contractor, and then I have to expect I need to expect an updated price from my contractor and pass that back to the client, it gets tricky. Again, it becomes that art form of pricing and communication and client management and contract management. It's interesting to say the least. Okay, lastly, I believe this is the last one, variable pricing. Again, in the agency side of things, this doesn't come into play too often. It does come up on my maintenance side because I have tiered pricing for my maintenance plans. It's a one-to-one system. One price for one site. I have, for maintenance, you have different prices. Let's say it's 100, 200, 300 for different packages. But if someone brought me a quantity of websites they wanted maintained, I would be apt to offer a variable price, give a slight discount for the surge in business, for the quantity, whatever that quantity might be. So that's variable pricing. So you could kind of toy with that a little bit. So it's tough because there's not one perfect answer here. There really isn't, in my opinion. With that said, when do you raise prices and when do you not raise prices? And I want to make sure, legally speaking here, I want to stay out of the industry collusion here because back in the day when I was doing photography work, talking about prices and saying we should all raise our prices was considered taboo to talk about. But I don't think there's a huge problem talking about them and just making sure we're all getting a fair price and not having a race to the bottom. I don't want to be the Walmart of web agencies. Anyway, so I think you can raise prices when your competitors are raising prices. If the competition has upped the ante, it's a good signal that the market can and will support the price increase for your services as well. Okay. I think you also can raise your prices if your customers say you're a bargain. If you keep getting that comment like, wow, you offer a great value and great service, maybe you're not charging enough. Okay. If you get, I think there's an old study, a certain percentage of yeses versus nos, it's time to raise your prices. Okay. When not to raise a price. Now, this is the kicker. Don't raise your prices too much all at once, because as the economy shifts to good and bad and the ebbs and flows of people's income and expenses, a big jump in prices might be too much for your customers. It's just that simple. You have to know where to play that a little bit. So instead of raising prices, raise prices in, let's say, smaller increments of two to three times over the year, possibly, or as new customers come to you. So I raised prices actually about 3 months ago. I raised my hourly price. Actually, I raised both. I raised my base price for web development, full development. I actually doubled it. And I raised my hourly as well by about 25% from that point on. So come January 1, 2019, I'm not raising prices again. It's already been done. It's if somebody comes back to me that was a past client or a past hourly, then that they will have a new price for them, yes. But I'm not going to raise them again. It's not a double raise, if that makes sense. All right. So I hope that helps. And the reason this is front of mind for me is most recently I'm just bid some projects. And I was just thinking about this again on what's the way to do this. What's the best way? And there is no best way. There's a lot of, not guesswork, but I guess I want to say this way. In this most recent case, I went with my gut. Simple as that. I have a contractor. We're working together. It's going well. I took the price. I marked it up that I thought was a fair value, and I went with my gut. I haven't heard back yet from the customer, from the client. We'll see if I get it or not, but I'm optimistic, and I think I will get that job. Okay, so if you have any questions or comments on pricing, by all means, let me know. Okay, moving on to segment 3, the tip and tool of the week. This week's tip is actually, it's a website. It's awesome. It is called remove.bg, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, remove.bg. It's a website. It removes background images. It's 100% automatic. It does it in 5 seconds or less without a single click. You upload a photo, it removes the background. It's not perfect, but it's really, really cool and really good. I do a lot of this kind of work on my own in Photoshop because people want me to make funny, silly photos, and I've done this a lot for things in general. Anyway, check it out. It's over at remove.bg. I have no connection to them. I will just be using the service. Not sure how long it'll be free for, but check it out. It's pretty cool. So that is it for this week. I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email. I'm adam@kitchensinkwp.com, or you can always leave a voicemail using the SpeakPipe functionality of the website. If you want to support the show, you can do that. You can become a Patreon. That'd be awesome. kitchensinkwp.com/Patreon, Patreon. And if you want to sponsor the show for 2019 and beyond, you can do that too. There's a form on the website. Would love to have you on as a sponsor. Thanks so much for listening. Happy holidays. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right. Bye-bye.